I'm going to show how I did the LS swap in my 88 Chevrolet truck with a TBI motor. Basically it's real simple on these trucks in my opinion. So this is a generic eBay cold air intake. The only real mods I did was, this is the donor truck upper radiator hose. Got this adapter. I don't really think the bleed is needed. I've never actually bled it. Never had air pockets. But it's also for the steam vent. Mostly the number one question I see being asked is what to do about fuel lines and transmission lines. So I'm going to show that. And on my truck, I use the original braided lines for the fuel lines for return and feed. And those go into an adapter, a swivel, and then a fuel fitting. And I'll be able to show the part numbers for those parts. Then on the transmission side, we go over here. Now I have an external transcooler. So there is, and I don't have these part numbers, but that is a fitting to adapt from a hard line to AN. And then down there in the dark, see if I can zoom a little bit. Those are Earl's fittings, I believe, and they go hard line to a compression fitting out to an AN fitting. The Avalanche was a 5/16 transline. This 88 Chevrolet truck was a 3/8. So I'm using the 88 truck radiator. So the transcooler lines would have never fit. They were a push lock. These are threaded fittings. Come around front. You look through the grill. Kind of hard to see. It's kind of dark. But it goes into a external cooler. So it goes from the transmission through the factory transcooler in the radiator, leaves that cooler, comes back out to that external and back into the transmission. So that's basically it on that side. Really simple to do. Originally it was all hose clamps and rubber hose, and I was having problems with it. It's worked for other people, it never worked out for me. But this setup has been pretty bulletproof. Now as far as my fuel fittings, this is a generic fitting from the Speed Shop. Female to female flare swivel. And then over here we've got these. We have an O-ring port. So those are the fittings you'll need to go on the factory braided hose from the truck. And these are your push locks onto the fuel rail. And here's the part numbers, like dealing cards out here. There's those part numbers. And there's those. Now some of the things I did on my truck. That's a battery tray for a diesel that I just adapted a PCM mount to. Mike Wallace did my standalone harness. Don't think he's doing them anymore. I'm not sure, he's in Memphis now. So the harnesses looked really good when he did it. Put it in this truck, 3 years of hacking on it. Kind of jacked it up. Car shop motor plates, stock clamshells. As far as gauges, let's see. All the OE gauges are still functional, except speedometer. My speedometer never worked. You can see all the original gauges work, but I am using this ultra gauge, and right now I have it set for speedometer, tachometer, trans temp, engine temp, and intake. I'm monitoring my air intake temps because I'm building a cold air intake for it. But that just plugs into your OBD2 port and gives you all your gauges, your scan. It'll be a scanner as well. So that's it. LS1 swap into a TBI 88 Chevrolet pickup. Pretty straightforward. This truck was done on a strict budget. Driven every day for the last 3.5 years or so. Walk back here and show the exhaust off. This is just idle. Alright. Well, aside from crappy videography skills, you have to cut me some slack. It's my first video. But I can go in more a little in depth if need be. Once again, fuel lines. And I'm not covering really much of anything. Mostly I wanted to concentrate on the fuel lines, since that seems to be where I see most of the questions. Alright, that's it.